Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to the Steven Spielberg Project, where I'm reviewing every Steven Spielberg movie I have yet to review in honor of Disclosure Day coming June 12th. I have already started it, playlist link in the eye in the right-hand corner. Please go check that out. But for now, let's talk about Twilight Zone, the movie.
George Miller, John Landis, Joe Dante, and Steven Spielberg take you to another dimension.
This was released in 1983, and this was, well, actually an anthology movie. It was an anthology movie, one segment of which was directed by Spielberg, with the wraparound or the prologue, and the first segment being directed by John Landis, the third segment being directed by Joe Dante, and the fourth segment being directed by George Miller. The collective filmographies of all four of these directors I don't need to go too deep into because I'm sure you all know what they've been up to. Talking about this movie comes with a bit of baggage, so let's just get it out of the way now. Let's talk about the Twilight Zone accident. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but the long story short is that during the filming of the first segment, Time Out, Vic Morrow, the star of the segment, along with two child actors named, and I have their names here, I'm going to read them, Micah Din Lei and Renee Shin Yi Chen, were both tragically killed on the set. I have seen the footage of their deaths. It's floating around out there if you are so morbidly curious. And it's not fun. It is not fun to watch. And I have no unique perspective on this. I wasn't there. All that I will say is that it was just a horrible accident and just a tragedy in every sense of the word. Rest in peace to Vic Morrow and Micah Dinley and Renee Shin-Yi. I'm sorry, I probably butchered those last two names. Vic Morrow was a bit of an interesting case because not only was he the star of the first segment, but he was also an actor in his own right. He had starred in the original Bad News Bears with Walter Matthau, and he was the father of one Jennifer Jason Leigh. Jennifer Jason Leigh and her sister actually sued the producers for legal actions later in the 80s, and no one was found criminally liable. Again, there's a whole Wikipedia page and articles on it. Please go and find them for yourself. The fact is that the movie is out. It's got made. It got released. It's free. It's free to watch and stream and do whatever. So the toothpaste is out of the tube. It is truly unfortunate that these actors are no longer with us, and just a tragedy in every sense of the word. And it's unfortunate because I love the Twilight Zone. Like, some of you of my OG viewers know that I had a series called the Twilight Zone Vlogs where I was reviewing the original Twilight Zone show. I will finish it one day. There's no easy way to segue away from this, so I'm just going to segue away from this and get to the actual movie itself. Called Time Out. It's a partial remake of the Twilight Zone episode Back There, melding with another episode called Equality of Mercy. It tells the story of Bill Connor, played by Vic Morrow, a vicious racist, anti-Semite, and just a bigot in every sense of the word. And they make no attempt to hide it. He is an idiot and a racist and an anti-Semite and has just nothing but hatred in his heart. He's at a bar with his friends. He goes out to leave the bar. He opens the door, and when he closes the door out of the bar, he finds himself in Nazi Germany. He then bounces to the Jim Crow era South, and then to Vietnam. Yes. So, tragedy aside and decoupling from everything we know about the making of this segment is bad. It's just really bad. Like, even if everything had run smooth with this is the worst segment by a lot. I get the intention of showing that being a racist and a bigot is just a terrible thing, because it is. But just this was done so over the top, it's almost comical. It's comical at a couple points. There's a part where Bill Connor is he's about to be lynched by the KKK. They keep calling him the N-word, even though he is white, but I guess that's for the effect of it all. And and Bill Connor escapes, and he runs away, not before one of the KKK members lights himself on fire with the burning cross, and someone takes off their robe and tries to put out the fire with the robe. When I just had to laugh at that, I just said to myself, the KKK members from Django Unchained have more credibility.
I can't see fucking shit out of this thing.
But nobody can see.
So?
So it'd be nice to see.
And this was just so confusing. Like, are we supposed to feel sorry for this racist man finding out what actual racism is? I don't know. This was weird. This was bad. I hated this segment. I'm glad it was over. Rest in peace, Vic Morrow. We are moving on. And now we're getting to the actual Steven Spielberg of it all. Kick the Can. This is a full-on remake of the Kick the Can episode. It tells the story of Mr. Bloom, played by the great Scatman Crothers, who is an eternal optimist, despite some of the residents in a nursing home not being so. One night he says, I'm going to play a game called Kick the Can. And so he and several other residents play Kick the Can, and the residents turn into children again. This one was okay. I've seen some reviews that said that this was the worst segment. I completely disagree with that. This one was just fine. It's not as bad as Time Out was, but this was just fine, I guess. There was just an attempt to try and be whimsical, but it just didn't work. And unfortunately, this one was just kind of there for me. But Scatman Crothers made it watchable. I will just leave it at that. Segment number 3 is a remake of It's a Good Life. This was directed by Joe Dante, and it tells the story of a school teacher named Helen Foley who is trying to drive to her new job and needs directions. She meets a little boy named Anthony who says that it's his birthday and no one cares. She drives him home and finds out that the home... it's Anthony is a bit of an unreliable narrator. I'll just leave it at that. This is the best segment by far. I feel like this was Spielberg allowing Joe Dante to run wild with this, and deservedly so, because there's practical effects here. There's a pretty gnarly moment near the end of this that I thought was pretty cool. There's a lot of practical effects, like I said, and this was the one that it has a weird ending. I won't give it totally away here. If you've seen It's a Good Life, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, this one was the best segment. It had the most creativity. I felt like Rod Serling would have certainly written this if he were still alive. Finally, the final segment is Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, directed by George Miller and starring John Lithgow. And Nightmare at 20,000 Feet is one of the classic Twilight Zone episodes. William Shatner going, "There's a monkey on the wing!" and all of that. You all know what I'm talking about. I still prefer It's a Good Life, but this is still a pretty good little segment and a solid remake, if nothing else. I prefer the original episode myself, but I give Lithgow all the credit in the world for selling the fact that John Valentine hates planes and hates flying quite a bit. I really did appreciate that. Overall, this is my second favorite segment. And one more note before I left, that this was actually narrated by Burgess Meredith, who not only was one of the classic Twilight Zone actors, he had starred in several episodes, but he was also pretty relevant as he had been Mickey Goldmill in the Rocky films. So solid get in terms of connection to the Twilight Zone, and relevant get because Burgess Meredith was in a lot of pretty successful films. And also Burgess Meredith rules, so good on him for that. But I really do not know how to rate this, because tragedies aside, this movie was just a big old mixed bag. There's a lot of bad stuff, but there's some good stuff here too. Ultimately, I feel like I'm just going to give this an unrated. There is stuff to like here. Solid performances. You can tell that Spielberg and Dante and Miller and Landis, to a certain extent, all love the Twilight Zone. There's a clear homage at the prologue to the Twilight Zone. It's in terms of, if we're counting it as a segment, it's my third favorite segment. It's just Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks in a car, and Dan Aykroyd turns into a werewolf, I think, and eats Albert Brooks. It's great. But this one is just a very difficult movie to talk about for very obvious reasons. If you've seen this, I'm curious to know what you thought about it in the comments. I would love to read what you have to say. I know I say that all the time, but especially with this one, I'd love to read what you have to say. But next time on the Spielberg Project, we're going a little ahead in time and to a much more acclaimed film, and one that I have never seen. It is 1985's The Color Purple. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.